I sort of remember one night, I had a shortwave radio then, and I would look around, there was a Dutch station. I thought, oh, this is interesting, and the groove attracted me. I had a group of friends, and there was some journalists who had this magazine called the Bristol Recorder, and they were also enthusiastic about some of this music, and I started calling them, and a group of people that I knew were interested in this sort of music, and said, let's try and put on a festival. There were only 3 record stores that I knew of in London where you could actually find this sort of music. And occasionally you could see artists, you know, in these sort of cultural events, but it didn't feel sort of free and fluid. But we believe passionately that it should be all-inclusive. You know, I think Basie said only 2 types of music, good and bad. I think we like that approach.
Peter said he'd met some people he thought could run it. Thomas Broom and Steve Pritchard, the team. Peter felt their energy, the tremendous enthusiasm. And they knew they were very much Bristol-based, and they knew Echomi, who were a real force for change.
I'm just going to go and check out Echomi out and get them back up to stage 1 and have a chat with Chris Adamson, and then I'll be back. Would it be possible to have a listen to something? What time is it? About 11:15? Yeah.
WOMAD was absolutely special. There was a fever because it was new and it was fresh. It was just exciting.
What did you like about that concert especially?
It had a real sort of, kind of, you know, sort of... It had something that our music kind of lacks. It had a real sort of beat, you know what I mean? What did you think of it?
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it? Oh, she didn't see it, but she thought it was great.
It was great, that was really good.
Why didn't she see it?
Why didn't you see it?
So I was climbing through the fence trying to get in.
The way that music was going to be presented at WOMAD was very different, very radically different. We had 5 stages and we had musicians from all over the world, and the impact of that was enormous. To see the Beat, who were incredibly popular at the time, and then to be able to see Indonesian dancers or the Drummers of Burundi was an extraordinary juxtaposition.
What was so special about WOMAD is you were hearing sounds you'd never heard before, seeing things you'd never seen before. It was so exciting. At the time I was living in a derelict house with rats in it, and suddenly I'm looking at my work on the front of the WOMAD festival programme, which was amazing.
I seem to remember that you could walk past places and stuff was happening that nobody had heard before. African musicians, Indian music, you know. There's a lot of stuff going on that it was stimulating. It was very important to open things up. In a way, it was doing what Rip Ring Panic was trying to do. That we were perfect for it, in that we were trying to open things up musically. And WOMAD was doing that on a grand scale, where you'd have musicians from all over the place, and mostly people that the audiences hadn't heard or experienced before. So I think it was really important. And you always tell us tradition.
This event did set the whole ball rolling. It was the start of this, it's possible to like everything in the same environment with the same spirit.
A ritual mask upon the wall furnishes his surroundings, and he thinks that's all. A ritual mask.
There aren't very many people here, are there? Or do they all come in the daytime?
Well, they'll get out of bed in the daytime.
Because, there aren't very many tents or anything.
Oh, there's a large field of tents, but the thing is at night,
there
are no fires allowed around, so at night you get this impression of tents, little dark dots. Something else that was interesting last night was that there are a whole horde of people who are not musicians at all, who turned a grandstand into a sort of drum kit. About 200 people just dancing, clapping on it. And they're quite specifically fired by the Burundi lot. Because you tell it the way they were playing, and they were just sort of, not musicians at all. They're just sort of people jumping and dancing and hitting things. But the rhythm was right there and solid.
The collaboration with, for example, with Echo The Bunnymen and the Drummers of Burundi happened at the invitation of Echo and the Bunnymen. It's just by the weekend itself, and so they just had about an hour or two of rehearsal. It was born of the moment. There was no pre-planning of it at all. I, tended to watch everything on my feet, just checking this and checking that on the way to somewhere else kind of thing. But I remember the chieftains very well. I remember the gamelan was mesmerizing, and of course the Drummers of Burundi, the beat, Echo and the Bunnymen, Simple Minds.
Promise you a miracle. Our belief is a beauty thing. Promises, promises. High school days break wonders. Only love you see. The tears of love. Love's physical. Everything is possible. Rhythm of life. Everything is possible.
How many people do you think? 6,000 here in here last night.
In here?
I reckon.
Jesus.
How many? No figures. Right. I mean, don't say any of that at all. Just because, the fact is that we don't know, but what we have to say is 4, obviously, because of, the men in uniforms who sort of...
Have you got enough, do you think you're going to break even for the number of people coming?
Well, it's totally reliant upon today.
If you feel like moving to the rhythm, do it! Here comes the great man from Africa, Nigeria, Prince Nico Baga!
That there was going to be a collaboration or some form of something happening with Peter Gabriel. We all just fell around the office screaming, what? The fusion of rock and African traditional music was a definite sharing. There was a synergy. You had this new interlocking wave, this new syncopation. It was exactly exciting for both, I think. For us, we're hearing these mad, wild rock drums kicking.
first WOMAD festival was pulled together by a team largely or rather totally inexperienced of organising anything more than, a gig. But there were very few restrictions or, rules and regulations surrounding events at that time. I mean, no safety codes, no health inspections, etc. And so in that sense, there was a latitude offered to would-be organisers. And in that sense, I think we were lucky, but at the same time, we did very well. We didn't organise a disaster. I mean, it was a disaster financially, but in every other respect, it was really very good, I think. We were at the kind of forefront, certainly of our own learning experience, but at the same time, I think festivals were in their youth, and there were different times.
I think it is the way that the festivals moved around the world that is one of the things I'm most proud of. We began just as rank amateur enthusiasts, with a passion for some of this stuff. But the byproducts, are, I think, very important. WOMAD has always shown quite easily the stupidity of racism. I think this slogan of bringing the world to the world is important now, and we need global citizenry and people thinking of themselves as global citizens more urgently than ever. So I think there's a big job. WOMAD has an important role to play.